Good morning, everyone. Morgan here, hosting the 21st Agency Accelerator series from Convert.com. I'm really happy to be here after a long break. Today, we have a super interesting panel. It's the first time ever we have 3 people weighing in on a really timely and important topic. The topic today is Crisis to Opportunity. It's an e-commerce workshop, and we're going to be looking at proven strategies to grow your store over the next 6 months. Now, today we have the trifecta of email, A/B testing, and ads to really get you going. And to pull that all together, we've got Joris Bryan, founder and CEO at Dexter Agency. We've got Matt Abbott, the head of growth at Swanky, who's going to be talking about A/B testing, and Francis Teo, the growth director at Lambda, who's going to be telling us all about ads. So welcome, guys. Nice to see you here, and I'm really excited to get all this knowledge. So I do want to tell the audience that one of the things that we all have in common, apart from this topic, is that we really don't like snoozy, long webinars with very little value. So today, each presenter will be giving you 15 minutes packed full of information, and they'll also be giving you some key takeaways that you can do in right when you get off the call, and that you can start actioning. So we hope that you will find tons of value in what we're offering today, and we hope to see you shooting us lots of questions in the chat box. The way it will work today is Joris will go first, 15 minutes, then Matt, 15 minutes, then Francis, 15 minutes. We'll pool the questions, we'll have a discussion at the end, and then the replay will hit your inbox within 24 to 48 hours after the session is complete. So let's get started. All right, so we have first up, Joris Bryan, founder and CEO of Dexter Agency. And his specialty is helping online stores grow with the traffic that they already have, using 3 pillars: conversion rate, purchase frequency, and average order value. Hi, Joris, nice to see you.
Hi, Morgan. Hi, everyone.
It sounds a lot good. It sounds a lot like finding money I forgot about hidden in my house.
Yeah,
or in my sofa or something.
Yeah, basically that's what we do, and usually it's a lot of money. But a lot of e-commerce, and not just e-commerce owners, just site owners in general, are so focused on growing with extra traffic that they forget what they already have, and that's site visitors and customers. And usually there's a gold mine there, but an overlooked gold mine.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'll let you take it away then.
Okay.
Teach us something new and exciting.
All right, cool. I'll share my screen now. Okay.
Please.
Should be it. Yep. There we are.
Perfect.
So one of those ways to mine all that gold is email, of course. And I'll be talking about a couple of those strategies that you can use to turn those new buyers, maybe that came to your store for the first time during this Corona crisis, into loyal and long-term customers. So let's just dive in, because I have a lot of ground to cover, and I know that basically I'm limited to 15 minutes. I'm going to try and stick to that, but anyway, cool. So what we're going to talk about today, I'm not sure if it's following here. Yeah. So the state of e-commerce and email, that's going to be the first thing that we're going to be talking about. Very short, a couple of interesting numbers and stats. And then I'm going to be talking about a couple of evergreen strategies that you can use, and then a few specific strategies. And at the end, I'm just going to recap everything and give you a couple of action items, stuff that you can implement right away and take action today. All right, if you don't know me, I'm Joris, and I'm the founder of Dexter Agency, and as Morgan already said, we help online stores grow with the traffic they already have. I'm also author of Kill Your Conversion Killers with the Dexter Method, very hands-on book on how you can increase your conversions with basically with the traffic you have. Yeah, that's enough about me because I have a lot of things to say, so let's dive in. This was an interesting graph that I found on the Klaviyo blog, and it shows the evolution of e-commerce spend before, during, and now that we're, well, I'm not saying after Corona crisis, we're still in it, but it's declining again. But as you can see, this e-commerce spend went up considerably. And what I find interesting about this is that there's basically, everybody's talking about essentials versus non-essentials, but there's a distinction. There's new essentials as well, and that's this entire category. And as you can see, it's a big chunk of the money that was spent, and it's still being spent. And those new essentials are stuff like anything hobby-related, fitness equipment, gardening, so stuff that you wouldn't have considered essentials before, office supplies as well, but that are quickly becoming essential. So that's an interesting constatation as well. And one of the other findings by Klaviyo in one of their many studies they did is that revenue per recipient is up 39%. That means that email is doing really well in these Corona times, and this is even more impressive. Email attributed revenue is up 400% compared to last year, and that's a very impressive number. And it shows that email is just one of those very important pillars in e-commerce, e-commerce marketing in general, but especially now. And I think the decline that you start to see is normal because bricks and mortar shops are opening up again. But it's clear that spend was a lot higher, and it's still going to be a lot higher because there's going to be a residual effect from what happened over the last few months. Now, the good thing about email is that it's basically evergreen. A lot of that stuff that worked before still worked during the Corona crisis, and it's still going to work after that as well. And it's a great way also to make your business recession-proof, because email was one of those channels that generated a lot of revenue for a lot of e-commerce companies, and it's probably one of the most stable marketing channels that you can have in the whole digital marketing landscape, because all the other channels change constantly, but email is very reliable and is it doesn't change that much. So it's great to have all those basics covered with your email marketing, because it's going to be valid for this year, but also for a couple of years from now. It's not going to change that much. And how do you do that? Well, I think a lot of online stores, their problem is that they're players. They just go for a one-night stand and they leave before breakfast. But if you really want to get the most out of the traffic that you have and the customers that you have, it's really, you have to go for that long-term relationship, and email drives that relationship. And I'm going to go into detail more in the next couple of slides, but this sums it up. You drive traffic through paid, earned, and owned media, and then you get to know, or they get to know you, the visitors get to know you. And lead magnets and a welcome series flow, for instance, they play an important role at warming up new traffic up until the point where they're ready to buy from you. And that's what I call the dating phase. Is really people are considering, like, am I going to buy, am I not going to buy? And email can play an important role here as well. Stuff like browse abandonment flows and out of stock flows and cart abandonment, all that kind of email types of email flows, they can all help nudge people toward towards that first sale. And once they bought, of course, you don't give up and you can build a relationship. As you can see, there's many different flows I can use, but there's also the regular email campaigns that can work pretty well. But I'm going to go into detail, more in detail now, but this kind of gives a visual overview of the stages of the relationship and of the customer lifetime, and how email marketing can play a crucial role in that. And you're going to hear me say the term flows a couple of times. Just keep in mind, flows, automation, sequences, it's all the same. We tend to use the word flow because It's the word that's used also by Klaviyo, and Klaviyo is the ESP that we typically work with. But I'm just going to cover 10 flows that you should have in place, regardless of the situation, pre-corona, during corona, post-corona. I think it's just relevant for any kind of context. Cart abandonment, I'm assuming you all have that. If you don't, I'd say leave this webinar right now and go set that up, because you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Just a couple of quick tips here, or general guidelines. Make sure that you have at least 2 to 3 emails. Some give up after 1 email. What we typically see is 3 emails works best, but have at least 2. Make sure to add some urgency as well in there. That always works well with email. Make sure to send it at the right times. If you send your first email after 24 hours, go change that now. Change it to anywhere between 1 and 4 hours to start with. It's going to be way better than 24 hours, and then you can test it out and see what works best for you. But one thing's for sure: if you send it after 24 hours, that's too late. So you should send the first one very fast. Also, it makes sense to treat recurring and first-time buyers differently. What I mean is this: a recurring buyer, they already know you, and they're more inclined to buy from you anyway. And they may have left their cart, I don't know, maybe they got distracted, but they probably don't need that discount that you may give in your flow. They may not need it to make that purchase. And what we typically recommend is if you send, for instance, 3 emails, well, treat new ones and the first and the recurring ones, just treat them differently. Say after the second email you give a discount. Well, for recurring buyers, you can give that only in the 3rd email, and if they buy after the 2nd email already, you don't send that 3rd email, obviously. So that way you can save yourself some margin. And so that's one thing that you should definitely test out. A welcome flow, so people sign up for your email, don't leave them hanging. Send them a flow of a couple of emails. There's different approaches to that, but usually 3 emails is good. The first one to present your brand in general, what people can expect. Second one, that can be about some bestsellers, for instance, or you can ask them to follow you on social. A third one could be some social proof emails, and that way you warm them up. So that's one of the flows you should have. Browser abandonment is a bit similar to cart abandonment. The only difference is that people haven't added anything to the cart yet. It can be creepy, so be careful about that. Send 1, 2 email stops, and don't send it just to anyone who's seen any product. But if you notice that someone, for instance, saw a pair of Nikes 4 or 5 times, well, they're probably interested in a pair of Nikes. Don't send them an email saying like, "Hey, we saw that we're looking at that pair of Nikes." That's creepy. So what you better do there is be more subtle. So stuff that we do is, for instance, we'll send an email saying like, "Hey, there's only today $5 off on Nikes, but Nikes in general." And then that's not creepy. It's like, oh, what a coincidence! I was just looking at those Nikes, and I'm getting $5 off, and only today. So yeah, I'll take action. So have to be careful with browser abandonment. Don't make it creepy, but make it relevant. And I think that's by the way, that goes for any email that you send. Out-of-stock emails and email flows, well, that's something that I don't see that many stores do. And it's a simple one. When you have an item that's not in stock anymore, just let them sign up on a product page. And as soon as the item goes back in stock, just send them an email, and they're like, oh, they'll get alerted, it's back in stock, and they'll buy it. So simple, yet so overlooked as well. Post-purchase. Post-purchase, usually you get a transactional email and that's it. But there's a lot of opportunity there as well. You can really manage their expectations, increase some excitement before they get their package. When they get the product, you can even ask for a user-generated content, a picture of them with the product, and maybe you can do a giveaway. I mean, there's many ways to treat this, but it's an underutilized opportunity as well to start building that relationship with your customer. Bounce back, it's a really interesting one. The goal of bounce back flow is to increase average order value. So what you do is, say somebody buys a shirt, well, you send them an email immediately after their purchase and say like, hey, Do you want a t-shirt? We have this t-shirt, it's only $9, so it should be something everybody needs, and that is a no-brainer. Give it an interesting price and add some urgency. If you add it within next 60 minutes, for instance, to your cart, then we'll ship it at the same time, and you get it at this discounted price. So that works really well to increase average order value, because people who just bought, they're at a buyer's high, and they're very likely to add something else if you propose it to them. A one-two punch is an automation that you set up. If you know that people who bought item A, usually after 30 days they buy item B, well, then you just send an email to everyone who purchases item A. 30 days later, they get an email about item B, just to be there at the right time and be relevant. They don't have to give away a discount right away. You can do that later on in the sequence, but the first email should just be like, hey, you bought this, this could be interesting, and because you know from the data that you have that this is a good time and it's something people like to buy that many days later, well, then you have a good chance of converting them. Win back is a typical, hey, we miss you kind of email. Don't expect too much from that, because usually people have already kind of lapse in their heads and they're not going to come back. That's so easy to set up, so just give it a try, and it will make you some money for sure. The sunset flow is different in a way that it's not going to make you any direct money, but it's important for your deliverability. What you do here with the sunset flow is you automatically suppress people from your list who haven't engaged with any of your emails for a certain amount of time. Typically, we'd say, like, if they haven't opened any email in the last 120 days, then it's a good idea to suppress them from your list and don't email them anymore, because that will only hurt your deliverability. Easy to set up as well. A VIP flow is it's an important one, and not many stores do that. But if you look at the people who buy from you, you're going to notice that a certain percentage, maybe 20% of the people, is responsible for 40, 50, 60% of your revenue. Very high spenders, and you should treat them differently. You should really appreciate them and send them an email, say thank you, and also survey them. Ask them a couple of questions. How can we serve you better? And make them feel involved in your brand, and make them stay longer, but also understand who they are, what they like, so that you can attract more of those buyers. Now, that's the automation part. In terms of campaigns, so that's your regular newsletter or promotional email. What we recommend is sending or setting up a sales event every 6 to 8 weeks, and that doesn't always have to be a discount. It could be a free add-on, could be free express delivery, that kind of stuff. But whenever you do that, make sure to send at least 4 emails. And if you say you have sales event from Monday to Friday. On Monday, you announce it. On Wednesday, you send a second email, and a third one 24 hours before it ends, so on Thursday night, and a fourth one about 4 hours before it ends, so on Friday afternoon. That should be the absolute minimum. And those 2 last emails, because you add the urgency and say, like, hey, the sale ends, well, that's going to have a big impact. Also, this is such a no-brainer, but not everyone does that. If you send an email, people don't open it. Send the exact same email again with a different subject headline. Look at this, for instance. One of our clients, we sent an email, 6,865 euros for that first email. A couple of days later, we sent the exact same email, just a different subject line, and it got another 4,800 euros extra. So that's 70% more revenue from the same email with just 5 minutes of work. So make sure to do that. Also, an interesting one, push everything through to Facebook custom audiences, so that whenever people get an email, they get to see the same message again on Facebook, and that's perfect, because that works in harmony, and they see the same message in their mailbox and on Facebook, and it's going to have a much higher impact. A few ideas for campaign types that you can set up. First one, different day, different sale. Great one for resellers. So you say, like, hey, on Monday we have a discount on this category or this brand. Tuesday, in different category, different brand. You get the idea. That's different day, different sale. Early bird incentive is when you incentivize people to buy at the start of the sales event. So you could say, like, hey, First day only is 15% off. The other days is 10% off. We've done that with VIP customers as well. Say like, hey, you're a VIP customer. Tomorrow the sale is starting. We'll give 10% to everyone, but since you're a VIP customer, you get 15% off only today. Works like a charm, really well. Tiered pricing, that's another one where you just say like, hey, if you buy one item, you get that much off. You buy 2 items, you get more off. You get the idea. That's tiered pricing. There's tons of other types there, but these ones, if you want to start somewhere, these work really well. All right, that's the general stuff. So we got that out of the way. But in terms of specific strategies, stuff that you can do right now, and this is, I mean, a lot of this is not just common sense and not really rocket science, and very easy to do. So that's the good news. It's really important to thank your customers. So what you do is you look at anyone who bought from you for the first time during this whole Corona crisis. So you look at the last 2 to 3 months and all the new buyers, and then you just send a campaign to thank them. And one of the things I would definitely recommend is being honest, being transparent, and even vulnerable and personal. At the end of the day, those customers helped you stay in business. And at the beginning of the Corona crisis, I was talking to an entrepreneur, and so she was very much relying on her bricks and mortar store. She had an online store as well, but didn't really do much with that. Now she had to close the store because of the lockdown. And she could have gone out of business, but fortunately she had a list of email addresses of the people who came to the store, to the physical store. So she sent an email to them, like really honest, really transparent, saying like, hey, this is a difficult time for us. We had to close down our store. Yeah, would you mind buying from us online? And even if it's just a gift card or something, that could really help us stay in business. And the results were phenomenal. That one email generated almost 50,000 in sales. Just by being vulnerable, personal, honest, transparent, people understand that these are difficult times, and email in her case really kept them in business. So be genuine. I think that's the main message here. Be genuine, be a real human, especially now. That's super important, and appreciate their help in these difficult times. And in that same email, you can ask for their feedback and say like, hey, we would love to welcome you again. Can we ask you a couple of questions? You set up a simple type form kind of survey. That's 10 minutes of work. And you only have to ask 3 questions. One is, why did you choose it in the first place? Second one is, how was your experience? And the third one is, what can we do to improve your experience? And that one is a powerful one, because if you are familiar with the Unity principle, the 7th principle by Cialdini, it basically means that people, when they contribute or have a feeling they contribute to your brand or your store or whatever, they will feel more involved and more likely to buy again from you. So just asking that question and doing something with it will make it more likely they'll buy again from you. Of course, incentivize them, give them a discount on the next purchase, and you can do that when they fill in the survey, but I would give it just to anyone. Everyone who bought from you, and don't say like, hey, we'll give you that discount if you fill in the survey. Again, Cialdini reciprocity here, reciprocity principle. If you give something, they're more likely to give something back. So if you give the discount, you are going to be more likely to fill in the survey anyway, and you want to thank them, so give them that discount anyway. I think that's best. And of course, that's not just for new buyers. You can do something very similar to returning buyers. So everyone who bought from you before the Corona crisis, and then you just make that segment, look at the ones who came back during those difficult times. And you just have to change or tweak your messaging a little bit and say that instead of it's thanks for supporting us, it's more like thanks for continuing to support us. So all in all, very similar, very easy to set up. Again, no rocket science, but I'm betting that most of you haven't even thought of this or not really having any concrete plans of doing this. And it's so easy that it's almost criminal not to do it. Again, this is really an essential first step to take that relationship from a one-off purchase to a long-term relationship. You don't want to be that player that goes for the one-night stand. You really want to go for that long-term relationship, and that really helps. Very quickly about tone, tone of voice, especially now in these times, be human, transparent, show empathy, be trustworthy as well, and hopeful as well. I think be positive about the future. I think that is really helpful. So it's still very delicate right now in the beginning of the crisis. Those items were really important, but it's still important because it's not all over yet. So we have to continue that. And I think this is the last idea here. I'm going over time here. Sorry about that. But one of the things that you can do is support a cause as well. Again, it's not all over yet. It is getting better, but it's not all over yet. So it's still very much in the back of our minds. And supporting a corona-related cause can definitely help and make it some kind of one-for-one. So for every purchase, we donate 10% to this or that cause. And just send an email to your customers. That is a very powerful trigger for them to buy from you again. In terms of content, keep doing content. A lot of e-commerce we're not comfortable doing promotional emails in the beginning of the crisis, and it shifted more towards content. That's really good. It trains people to open your emails if you send relevant content, and it makes them less likely to unsubscribe from your stuff. So keep sending relevant content. Don't stop that, because it's getting better now, the whole Corona situation. Anyway, to wrap it up, I know I've tried to pack so much in so little time, so I went really fast here, but. Take action today. This is what you can do. Create that segment of new customers and the returning customers in those Corona months. Set up that thank you campaign, and there's no much nuances needed between the two. And then you look at the automations that we covered, if you have them or not, which ones you should add in the coming months, and make a calendar and stick to it. I think that's really important. Wow. Okay, that was really speedy. Sorry about going over time there. But I just wanted to give as many ideas as I could in the time that we had.
Wow, that was, well, you know what? We're still going to be having you as a certified partner for Convert, even though you're 6 minutes over.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
But you were on a flow there, and I have to say that I certainly would not be able to plow through and give as much value in French, for example, or Spanish. So kudos to you. Thank you very much, Joris. That was a lot of really, really valuable information. And we are going to move on to our second speaker, Matt Abbott, who is joining us from the UK. He is head of growth at Swanky. And he gets clients to achieve their best potential by leveraging their full e-commerce team at Swanky. The real magic happens when they focus on split testing. And they're also a Shopify Plus agency with locations in UK and Australia. Matt, welcome.
Hey everyone, thanks for kind of inviting me to take part in this this webinar today. I'm going to jump straight in and share my screen.
I've got my timer on. I'll come on just in video at like 15 minutes, okay? If you go over.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So I've had a great introduction already. So I'm gonna crack on into the content really. So I'm going to take you through how we use split testing to help our clients respond to their customers' needs using a controlled and scientifically grounded methodology. And then I'll finish with a couple of examples so you can understand the thought process that we apply, which you can take away and apply to your businesses. So first off, I want to talk about process, because every successful CRO program is robustly managed and it follows a cycle. And that process starts with data. So every successful campaign is informed by customer data. That's the first thing I want you to remember. And that means that as a business, you should be capturing details and data about your customers, their intent on your website, their behavior, and really importantly, their reasons for failure. And you can get that data from a number of sources. So you can get it from Google Analytics, you can get it from heat mapping tools, business intelligence tools, your email service provider, and surveys as well. So that's one element that's quite often overlooked by businesses. You can go out and speak to your customers, or I suppose at the moment that's the wrong message to send. You can stay in and speak to your customers, but what I'm trying to get across is that data itself isn't necessarily the answer. You then need to understand what that data is telling you, and more importantly, what it's not telling you. And a very crude example that I've got is you might see from your Google Analytics that you've got a conversion rate of 5%, and you think, great. But what people forget to do is look at it from the other side. So you forget that 95% of your customers are not converting. So data not being the answer in itself means that you need to understand that data to help you define why customers aren't converting, and therefore identify the issues that your customers are facing on your website. So, for example, that data point doesn't tell you whether you've got a UX problem or a bug or some very confusing methodology, or the layout is just atrocious. So in order to confidently identify the issue, you've got to cross-reference that data source. And what I mean is, don't rely on it, but find out if the theory can be corroborated. So use heat mapping to verify that customers aren't clicking on the buy now button because it's hidden too far below the fold. So once you've got those kind of 2 points of data, it allows you to create a hypothesis which can be proven as true or false. So as an example, customers aren't buying because the call to action is hidden below the fold, and by moving the call to action above the fold, it will help you generate more transactions. So once you've got that customer-led hypothesis, you can test it. And you'll have a list of test ideas, no doubt. And you should be prioritizing them based on their commercial potential and the strategic importance. So the fun part is running the test. And there are key things to remember here. Don't look at them in isolation. Every single test that you run is an opportunity to learn. And you should always have one eye on the next step. And what I mean is, consider what you'll do if your hypothesis is true or false. Now, naturally, we want tests to be commercially successful, but don't forget, even if that test doesn't win, you can still learn from the data and those results. So regardless of the outcome, you should be looking at whether you can optimize further, and can those learnings be applied to subsequent pages, or has that test had an impact on behavior at a different stage in the funnel? So at this point, it's the stage the circle is completed, and the results and learnings that you've got from those tests can be fed back into the data platform that you are building. So just to quickly summarize the circle, testing should be viewed as a long-term process of learning, and it's a method of achieving growth and not necessarily just tinkering with websites. And all of your actions should be informed by customer data. So to show you some examples, I've got 5 tests that span the whole customer journey. And I'm going to start off with the collection page. So let's say, for example, the data here tells you that customers are looking at the color variations of a particular dress. You might all remember this one, but let's say on this website, they're all displayed as individual products on the collections page, and each dress has a separate product page. So that requires the customer to go through loads of clicks, loads of page views, and as a result, you've got a significant exit rate from the collections page. So the next stage is to verify this with heat mapping to confirm that the users are engaging largely with the same products but in different colors. So the objective then will be to reduce frustration and therefore increase conversion rate by presenting the available options via color swatches on the collections page. So you can see that bottom right of the screen, we've added a color swatch. So that will hopefully allow users to scan through the colors prior to entering that product page. And if our hypothesis is correct, we'd then be able to reduce the number of product pages. So remember what I said about having kind of an eye on the next stage. Whatever the outcome of this test is, it will have an impact further down the funnel. So another example is on the product page. So as an agency, what we're seeing at the moment is an increasing number of our clients' customers express interest in relatable imagery. And that makes sense, seeing as being able to view a product on a real person instead of on a model increases the trust, and it enables the customer to visualize themselves in that product a lot more easily. So prior to investing in a user-generated content partner, you could test the impact by asking permission to use a high-quality piece of content from a customer on a product page. That would enable you then to understand the impact and the reaction from your customers, and therefore quantify the impact of user-generated content on your website prior you're investing in that solution. Now, looking at an example that a lot of companies make a mistake on is the use of terminology, categorization, and therefore by nature navigation. How you define your products might not necessarily be how your customers see them. So there could well be a mismatch in terminology. So our advice would be to conduct some surveys. So look at your search data, which if you're not tracking, you really should be, and find out how your customers are searching, and more importantly, where they are failing to find the products that they're looking for. So using footwear as an example here, what we would ask this customer or this client is, do you really know how your customers want to search? Are they looking by size or are they looking by brand? And actually, in this example, how does it vary from country to country? But either way, what we need to do is we need to find out and we need to test it. So next, I just want to talk about loyalty, which at the moment is very, very important, because we all know that it costs less to get a customer to buy again rather than to buy for the first time. So there are a number of things that you can do to make your customers feel valued, such as offer discounts on second purchases, have a referral or reward program, or even exclusive access to new products. But whether you choose an off-the-shelf application or if you create your own loyalty program, always test the execution of it. So no matter how well you think that you've created the offer, your customers might not find it that easy to follow or even understand. So apply the same principles. Test the copy, test the page layout, test the route into the loyalty program, and test your advertising channels. So like I said at the beginning, just use split testing to verify your hypothesis rather than just implementing something and hoping that it works. And I want to talk about subscription finally. The ridiculous growth in subscriptions means that more or less everybody is thinking about offering it at the moment. But there are many businesses who are failing to offer the flexibility that customers want and are therefore risking losing their customers entirely. So what I mean is customers might want to skip for a month because they might not be going away right now, but they might be going away in the future and would need to skip. But the lack of flexibility means that actually they're cancelling their subscription altogether. So before you offer a subscription, make sure you are going to allow your customers the opportunity to shop how they want to shop. And that means that they need the ability to adjust their quantities or their delivery schedules or even their delivery addresses or the products that they get that month or that week. And even just let them do that for a short space of time. So the key takeaway here is remember that it needs to be easier for them than going online and repeating that one-time purchase journey month after month. So consumers can be fickle, and your subscription offer must make life easier for them. So kind of just to recap, the key takeaways here that I'd like to kind of get across is that testing needs to be viewed as a long-term process. It is the strategy to achieve growth. And remember that your test ideas need to be informed by customer data and customer behavior so that you can start to understand your data. So as a thank you for everybody who's been watching today, we're giving away a free retention ebook, and we'll also offer a free 30-minute consultation as a thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Matt. So I think I always find really interesting is when I host these, and your presentation really drove it home for me, is that as a consumer, I'm not a special snowflake. I fall into all these categories. I was actually shopping online yesterday to buy some summer outfits, and I ran across on 2 different sites that whole idea of color and the style. And the other thing that I saw was really cool is a site had someone model actually one of the pieces that you could, photos that you could click on was actually a GIF of them walking into frame in the clothing. And I thought, I mean, they weren't size representative of an average person, but still I could see how that might look when it was moving, not just, photographed. So it's really, really fascinating. Thank you so much. And your timing was impeccable. So you've made up for yours. So it's all great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Next up, to end out our trifecta of experts, is Francis Teo, who is going to be talking to us about ads. So Francis is the growth director at Blue Lambda. He's joining us today from Singapore. Matt was in the UK, and yours was coming to us from Spain. So at Blue Lambda, they fuse expert technology with marketing. And they are actually the first iQuant attention analytics certified expert in Asia. And that's a software that uses eye tracking solution to improve UX and UI. That sounds super, super cool, Francis. I'm so pleased to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Morgan. So, well, let's, I guess, get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, let me just try to turn the screen share on. Is it working?
Not yet.
Okay, give me a moment.
There you go. I see your beautiful backdrop. I don't know what that is, but it looks
Okay, give me a moment.
No problem. No problem. We did.
I totally tested this.
We did test it. We totally tested it. So no stress. It's not brain surgery. We're going to be totally fine here. So
give me one moment.
Sure thing.
Application window, and
there you go. That's the winner.
Okay.
All right, take it away.
It's just on the wrong screen, but it's okay. I'll deal with it. Sorry. Can you guys still see the screen?
I can see the screen. I see your sidebar as well. So you may want to go into presentation mode.
Yeah, I was trying to make the make everything better.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. I'll fix it.
Okay, no worries. I'm not timing you for this, so you still get your 15 minutes.
Okay, screen one and share. Oh.
It's the bane of multiple screens. Yes. All right.
Still working?
Yes, it's working. It looks perfect.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to start a timer. So
take it away.
Okay, great. I'm going to talk about the e-commerce gold rush of 2020. So this is how to leverage Facebook ads and globalize logistics to 2x your e-commerce business in the next 12 months. So first off, a bit about me. I'm the founder of Blue Lambda. We are an e-commerce growth company. We are a Convert certified agency, a Facebook managed partner, a Google partner agency. We're based in Singapore, but our experience allows us to take clients from all over the world. And what we do is we provide done-for-you growth for e-commerce brands who are ready to scale. And our unique approach that we recommend for all e-commerce businesses as well is no silos. So there's no like, we don't differentiate between Facebook, Google. We run them all so that we can leverage all of them together, omni-channel and globally focused. We just don't focus on just one country. And this is the approach I recommend for all e-commerce businesses. So what is the opportunity? The opportunity is we have a pandemic going on. It's still ongoing. Because of this, there are tons of people. I saw estimate somewhere like anywhere from 50% or 75% to 75% of the world's population is under some form of stay-at-home lockdown. So what happens is like people aren't able to go out. So what they do is they buy online. And there was a time like maybe a month ago, we saw huge boom in the, or rather a huge dip in the cost of buying traffic. But now it's gone back to normal. But that's it. What I can see is the consumer habits have changed permanently. We have right now probably like 60 days, 60 to 90 days of, depending on the country you're in, of people just getting used to buying online. My prediction is that this habit will stay. And because of this, there's a growth of e-commerce that's been accelerated. I guesstimate 5 years, maybe 10 years, depending on where you're living. But like these habits of more and more people buying online are it's here to stay. And basically, what I'm saying is the e-commerce market is much bigger, and we are at the starting point of this huge boom in the e-commerce market. So we should really leverage on this to grow our e-commerce stores. So the other thing that's really happening right now is there's a recession risk. So because of basically many countries going into effective shutdown, we're going to a global recession, like it or not. So in order to survive this and to thrive, what we want to do is to really grow internationally, so that we are able to leverage on even a small piece of the large global pie it's very, very large for any e-commerce business. So this is something that we need to be aware of and grow. So my preferred method, our preferred method to actually thrive in this market in the next 5 years is to use paid traffic. We used to do a lot of SEO. We still do it, but it's very slow to build. There are a lot of best practices, and it's not something you can get results in, let's say, a week. It's something like a long-term kind of play. And we have other forms of traffic, like influencer traffic, affiliate traffic. Yes, these are very good, but they're really hard to control and really hard to scale. It's not so common where you have a business where we go from X amount to like 2x, 3x in 1 week or 2 weeks, and that's very possible if we use a paid traffic channel. So to add on to that, like that's it. Eventually we want to use all of them, because the purchase, the consumer kind of journey now, it's so complicated that like it's not possible to say, okay, we just use Facebook ads, we use SEO, we use Instagram ads, we use Snapchat. Like we have to use all of them and reach the customer wherever and whenever they are. So to really like grow that, the consumer journey turns out to be like a very multi-touch world that we live in. So we need to leverage all the channels. Our preferred channel for launching a new e-commerce brand or scaling an e-commerce brand is Facebook ads. And the other channels we use would be like something like Google ads for both paid ads and paid search and display. We use native ads. Outbrain is our preferred vendor, but we do a bit of Taboola as well. Programmatic, our preferred vendor is Central Basis. Retargeting through Criteo, which is a really good retargeting vendor. And of course, we do want to expand through marketplaces, because in the US, we have a lot of people just going to Amazon as their first port of call to make a purchase. So you cannot ignore Amazon. And of course, if you're marketing in Asia Pacific, there's Shopee and Lazada. People living out of these Southeast Asia may not find these names familiar, but they are the dominant marketplaces here. And of course, we want to have SEO because that lays the long-term foundation for I guess next to free traffic, but that takes a really long time to build. So moving on, why Facebook ads? Why do we use Facebook ad as a primary channel? So if you've tried Facebook ads in the past before and say like, doesn't work, that may have been the case maybe 4 to 5 years ago, and that's where we got our start with Facebook ads as well. Back when the only form of ad was the right sidebar ad, and Facebook was desktop first. Today, Facebook's very different. It's mobile first, and what's really important is like Facebook's data and machine learning have evolved really, really highly over the last few years. So, it's able to really determine more accurately the user intent. So the other good thing about Facebook is highly scalable. In the way we do it, we can actually 2 to 4x monthly sales in about 6 to 12 months, depending on the business. And this is something that wasn't really possible before in many other channels that we've tried in the past. Why this is possible is because with such a channel, we are able to generate demand instead of tapping into existing demand. So traditionally, a lot of businesses start with SEO or paid search. We're actually tapping into when we look for, we target a certain keyword, we're actually tapping into the existing demand. But with Facebook, we are able to reach people who might not want your product first and might not want your product yet, and really generate that demand and get them really into your funnel and making that sale. So the top 3 tactics I have for Facebook ads for any business looking to scale is, first of all, you want to let Facebook's machine learning and data work for you. Gone are the days where we really do the page likes, we do the page post engagement. If you're in an e-commerce business, what you want to do is to use the purchase standard event. This is because that Facebook is able to deliver effectively the ad to the people who are most likely to purchase from you. So what we do is we go straight for the purchase. We don't do any I wouldn't say we don't do any, but we do, I'd say 90-95% of our spend always goes towards a direct purchase because it's just so effective. So if you have a too high a cart value, let's say $80 or $100, where you cannot really get the impulse buy from the first or second interaction with your ad, what we want to do that's worked really well is to really lower the price. You find a discount offer, maybe a sample or something lower to really get the impulse buy, because when we run that ad to be delivered effectively to these people who are likely to purchase, more often than not, we can get a purchase. So that's what we want to do for Facebook ads. So the other thing is we want to run with higher budgets. A lot of people think that you run with a lower budget, maybe $100 to $200 a day, because we don't have enough budget to play with. But having gone from that to really now with a standard campaign, we spend typically $2,000 to $3,000 a day on a campaign. At the very least, I would say $800 to $1,000 a day. So this has been really effective. It's one thing to take away, do this, just give it a shot. The reason is because we need to buy data by running the ads and really really train the machine learning model. So the recommendation is from Facebook, actually. This is officially in the documentation, is we want to have 50 purchases per week per campaign. So what we want to do is to plan the budget accordingly. That equates to about 50 times cost per purchase per week. With the initial testing phase, you even want to throw more budget at it, so we can again train a machine learning model. Recommend about 80 to 100 times cost per purchase per week to test the audiences as well as the creative. So the other thing is definitely make use of lookalike audiences. Interest audiences are only for really new accounts. Long term, this should be a core audience. With large enough audience sizes, they never burn out. Can be used to scale internationally. So once you have it working, scale internationally, and you can actually use a 1% to 20% lookalikes. Lookalikes above 10% have to be accessed via the API, but they can be very effective in many cases. So the other thing I touched on about the recession is we want to really diversify our risks. Well, one thing we can do is to scale internationally to find pockets of opportunity globally. A small percentage of the world's population buying from you is still very significant compared to getting, and it's much easier than getting a large market share in a single country. So few tactics. What we want to do is to get a reliable 3PL. I'm based in Singapore. I recommend Singapore because it's a major air hub, economically and politically stable, and if you basically do it right, imports actually tax-free in the free trade zone. Again, this depends on the right partner, because there is a lot of, administrative work that has to be done to get your goods in the free trade zone. But a good partner will help you do that. And if you partner the right person or right partner, shipping costs can be very low. And of course, lower shipping costs always helps with conversion rates. So I'm going to leave you some homework. So just to summarize, for Facebook ads, what you want to do is to use purchase events for conversions if you have not already. If you have, test different offers. If it hasn't worked in the past, test different offers to see whether that works. Test higher budgets, 50 times to 100 times cost of purchase per week at least. Give it a shot, see how it goes. Then you sort of just have to bite the bullet and try it, because it worked for us so well. This is just like the best tip. After you optimize the ad, you can actually scale your budget down a bit. And if existing purchase data, immediately you can start testing lookalike audiences. 1% first, and then you can scale up to 5, 10%, eventually 20%, and that works fantastically well. For the international expansion, start thinking about where you can expand to. The suggestions are US, Canada, UK, EU, Australia, Singapore. If you are not operating in these markets, you want to start thinking about that. Same thing, you can use Facebook lookalike audiences that expand internationally. Let's say you have audience in the US and you expand that internationally. Typically, that work fairly well and will give you scale almost immediately. And you do want to reach out to a reliable third-party logistics partner. If you work with the wrong partner, that's a real nightmare. And unfortunately, in the current situation, with the number of flights internationally going down, you want to work with someone really reliable and reactive to the changes in the international logistics landscape. And if you want an introduction, contact me directly, and I'll make sure that your request is passed and given the adequate priority when introduced to our partners. So, yep, I'll just leave you some contact details. I'm not going to read it out, but yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I'm always happy to help.
Excellent, Francis. Thank you so much. And great timing, even with everything. Yeah, fantastic. I love that focus on international. I think that even as consumers too, we get really like focused, kind of tunnel vision. And I think that's a really, really good point to make. And especially since, we are heading towards, and in some cases are already in recession. So it's a really good way to expand the scope. So perfect. Thank you so much for the really valuable information. Let's get everyone together here. I've got some questions. So I see, let's start with the general question I think that everyone kind of wants to know is, what is the most counterproductive thing that you've seen companies do in the response to this pandemic?
I don't know about companies, but I think on a personal level, it's watching the news. I've fallen victim to that as well at the beginning of the Corona crisis. And what you do is you get sucked into that black hole of bad news. It was only after a week or two that I started to realize that, and I shifted my focus on what you can do, and that is the business. And so I would suggest everyone to just focus on what you can control, and that's your business.
It's a good advice. Francis or Matt, is there anything that you've seen that has been pretty counterproductive in this current climate?
There's quite a lot of spam. I think companies can go a little bit overboard. So just having some very clear and concise messaging around the companies, around the effect that it's had and how that then impacts delivery schedules or their operation, is probably the most effective way of coming out of it in the best way possible.
Francis?
Yeah, for me, I think it's like long-term thinking is counterproductive, because nobody knows what's going to happen like next week or the next month. So it's what we want to do is like stop trying to predict the future. It's not business as usual. What we want to do is like almost be very reactive and be prepared for what's going to happen, because this is just a roller coaster ride these few months.
Right. Yeah. live in the moment. I guess prepare for the worst, expect the best, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's see here. I've got a question. Is Facebook really still a good prospect for e-commerce? I've heard it's way better to move to Instagram, especially for women's products. Is there any truth to that?
Oh, I guess it's for me. It's yeah, okay. So what we want to do is buy traffic on the, when I say Facebook, I mean the Facebook platform. So this includes Instagram, includes the audience network, includes the feed, mobile, desktop, everything. So like, yes, let the machine do the learning, and if you throw enough budget at it, slowly the algorithms will realize that, okay, the conversions are happening on Instagram, and shift towards Instagram as a spend. So I guess Instagram is a bad example, but like I would say, you know, we are a Convert partner, so like you should always be testing regardless. So, you know, test that and let the machine learning do the job for you, but also test Snapchat if you find that like that may work as well.
Do you, Matt, or Joris, have anything to add?
We don't do much with Facebook, to be honest, so I don't have anything valuable to add there. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I will say that as a consumer, I notice that I do purchase a lot more through Instagram, but I don't know why that is, and I haven't really dug into it, but now I'm going to be thinking about it when I'm scrolling through my feed. Let's see here. If a variant has a better conversion rate, but another variant has more revenue or visitors because the products on my store are priced differently, which variant should we deploy? Matt, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it depends on the objective of the test. Like if there's a if that question's come directly from someone, then it could be good to take us up on our offer of our free 30-minute consultation.
Fair enough. Is there any kind of anything that you want to add to that? Is there something that we should be thinking about in terms of variance and conversion rates that you could speak to generally?
It's not black and white, unfortunately. Understanding what the winning variation is quite complex, and it's not always just as simple as, you know, variation. The variation has had more conversions. It's not uncommon for it to have kind of maybe more conversions, but seems kind of counterproductive, but lower revenue. So all I can suggest there is just make sure you're looking at every metric, but have very clear metrics. Don't go overboard. You can overload the data a little bit too much. So
have like a more holistic view as well.
Exactly.
Like, okay, got it.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I think looking at profit as well is an important one. I remember one test we ran and conversion rate was lower for the variant, but the profit was higher. So you implement it, although the conversion rate is lower. So because it's making more money, so you have to look at the full picture. Absolutely agree with that.
Great. Let's see. If you were to take a large but currently completely offline business to consumer brand online in 2020, what would your general strategy be? That's a pretty broad question. Answer it how you will. How's that?
Personally, I'd start with building an audience. That could be on Facebook, for instance, really try to build an audience there. Then probably take it on to Amazon, sell there. When it's big enough, create your own Shopify and take it from there. So that would be my logical order. If you have an own brand, if you're a reseller, that wouldn't be the same answer there. But if you have a specific product, B2C brand for a specific audience, then build that audience first, then Amazon, then Shopify.
Matt? as a Shopify Plus partner?
Well, you have to invest in marketing at the end of the day. I mean, Shopify is a great platform to begin with, and it's very easy to get online if you're not currently with Shopify. But again, you need to invest in marketing just to, like we said, build that audience. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a bit of a vague answer, but this is what I find the problem with a lot of people who are coming online, like they've never done it before. So I guess my tip and my advice would be just get started. Don't always think about like building the huge store. And just get started and don't get too use Shopify. Use Shopify. Shopify is great to get started. You can get started in probably a week. Hire a Shopify partner, get started, throw some traffic at it, and see what happens, and iterate from there.
So progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Better done than perfect. Get something up and then test and tweak based on that.
Yep.
I think it's a good suggestion for anything in life, right? It's like, what workout should I start doing to get in shape? Just start, right? Okay, let's see here. Every e-commerce company is sending me a ton of email and sales. Anything that I can do to stand apart in the inbox?
I think, as I mentioned in one of the slides, like content and commerce, if you really truly provide relevant content that is very useful for your customer, and you send emails around that as well, you will get noticed. People will open your email more often than when you only send promotional emails, and because they'll look forward to your content and they'll read it, and then they get a promotional email and they'll be more likely because you train them to open it. So I think that's probably the best strategy, by being relevant and sending them good content.
I like that word that you use, train them to open it, and train them with like authenticity and good content. I think that's yeah, okay, excellent. Let's see here. You mentioned paid traffic is one of the most reliable ways to grow right now. Is there a way to avoid sounding tone deaf in the current environment? What are some best practices for advertising in a pandemic? Well, I don't think any of us are experts in advertising in pandemics, but Francis?
Yeah. I don't think it's much different in the pandemic, except that, like I said, people are more online, so the same best practices still apply. So stand out. Yeah. So I would share some basic best practices. Would be like, you want to use video creatives. So a lot of companies or rather e-commerce companies are not investing in videos. It's so cheap to produce right now. You don't have to have something fancy. Maybe UGC content is really great from customers, and like you really want to focus on the first 3 to 5 seconds to really grab their attention. If there's one tip, like how can we stand out? The answer, like creatives, use video and really make it grab attention in the first 3 to 5 seconds, and this one tip will actually bring you quite far in terms of like having your creative and ads stand out.
Okay. It made me think of what Matt was saying about like authentic reviews as well. Like, it's not video, but it's still something that your buyer can relate to, It's so I think that and also when Joris was talking about like the authenticity of email, I think that's like a theme that I'm seeing here. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm getting pretty good click-through rates on my email campaigns, but no conversions. Can you speculate on what the issue might be and how I could improve that?
No. I gotta be honest there. If I don't see anything, it's hard to do. I mean, I don't know what the email looks like. I don't know what the message is. I don't know what the page is like, what the offer is like. So fortunately, no. Happy to, I don't know, do a separate call with the person who asked this question and go over it, but impossible to say in general terms.
Yeah. I think it goes to what Matt was saying as well. It's kind of like, putting your symptoms into WebMD and then trying to diagnose yourself, right? Never a good idea. So reach out if this is your question. And I think kind of in the same vein here, what's a good average CTR for email campaigns?
I mean, it's a typical answer, but one that's better than your previous ones. But I'd say shoot for like around 5% at least. That'd be good. Open rate should be at least around 20%, and click through at least 5%. But always try to improve that.
Okay. Always be improving. Progress, not perfection.
Yeah, and if it's like on the really low end, if it's like, I don't know, open rate around 10% and click through around 1%, you should definitely look into that and see what you're doing wrong. Yeah.
Right. Help yourself. Okay. I'm going to open the floor to y'all and see if any of you have questions for your other presenters. Is there anything that you'd like to ask each other or expand on, or maybe you have a difference of opinion? That's fine too, or agreement. So I'll open that up to you and see if there's anything.
Not on my end, no. It's easy, isn't it?
Our 3 pillars of expertise. So
we all agree on everything. So
all agree on everything. Excellent.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Well, listen, thank you all for being here, for taking the time to prepare, for coming together and creating this unique event for Crisis for Opportunity. Really, really appreciate that. And there's been a ton of great content here and great giveaways for the audience. If you're listening, we will be sending the recording to your inbox in 24 to 48 hours. And of course, all the contact information for our wonderful presenters. Email was yours, Brian, from the Dexter agency. We had A/B testing from Matt Abbott, head of growth at Swanky. And Francis Teo was talking extensively about ads. He's the growth director at Blue Lambda. So thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Agency Accelerator series. Have a great day.